Your response to that. The Political Parties Act says you can't belong to two political parties. Why is there such an outcry from the team that you support, and yet they have clearly said they're with UDA? So what is the problem if Jubilee declares that, okay, fine, you're with UDA, stay with UDA?
Do unto others what you would do unto yourself, the Bible says. I want to agree with Wamatangi 100%. As far as the Political Parties Act is concerned, it's very clear. You cannot promote the interests of another political party when you are still in your own mother party. You would be deemed to have moved to the other political party that you are supporting. But applying this on Jubilee, it can only be operational if Jubilee is alive. Jubilee is dead, completely dead. You have two sets of members of parliament in Jubilee, two sets of leaders in Jubilee. One set is the one that used to call itself Kieleweke. The other one that they named Tanga Tanga. Tanga Tanga, in broad daylight, they have pronounced themselves on UDA. But they have said, we respect the law, we'll wait until 6 months to the general election, and then resign our positions and join the other party. They have stopped there. But why you can't push them out of parliament is because the party that they have moved to is a party which was in a coalition with Jubilee. And according to the same Political Parties Act that Mheshimiwa has quoted, if you support a political party with whom you share a coalition, you are not deemed to have broken that Political Parties Act. It is permissible. The other side, the Kieleweke side, has also been very clear. They have all defected to ODM. Kanini Keka, Maina Kamanda, Sabina Chege, name them. They have gone to ODM, and they're very clear. The problem is, ODM does not have a pre-election coalition agreement with Jubilee. And therefore, if there are people who need to be punished, they are those ones. The ones in UDA, you can't punish them because UDA, whose precursor name is PDR, has got a pre-election coalition agreement with Jubilee. So you can't punish these people. I'm not trying to speak like a magistrate or a judge, but that is the return that they would go if somebody approached the High Court. Okay. What is worse is the president himself, Wamatangi. President Uhuru Kenyatta, in Msambweni by-election, he campaigned for and promoted Boga. President Uhuru, in the by-election of Kibra, he campaigned for and promoted the candidate of ODM. So if there's anybody between the deputy president and the president who requires to be sanctioned, it is the president. He is the one who did that in those two occasions. The deputy president supported an independent candidate in Msambweni. Well, we were there. We were the face of UDA, but the candidate was independent. In Kibra, Mariga, Wamatangi. I think you're the only one I have not seen in a rally of ODM. I don't know whether my mind is informing well. I've not seen you in those rallies of ODM. But all the guys in Kibra were in the rallies of ODM. So if you must punish people for moving, punish the Kieleweke side, not the Tanga Tanga side of ODM, of Jubilee. The bottom line, however, is that Jubilee is dead, and therefore people should spare us the noise.
Okay.
Yeah. When you take a political party to the, shall I use the word, to the bedroom of the deputy president, and that party is defeated by another party which is less than 4 months old, that party should surely be dead.
Okay.
And I believe in these things. And that's why I want to thank you. You have reminded the viewers that when I moved as deputy party leader of Ford Kenya, I moved and made it very clear. That was not the first time I was doing it. In 2007, when the politics of the country, Trevor, were very fluid, ODM as Orange was a juggernaut. Our party leader, Muskari Kombo of Ford Kenya, then made a decision that we all move from Ford Kenya to go and join PNU, to campaign as PNU, because he was fearing that juggernaut at home. I and Soita Shitanda, we refused. We refused when he moved to PNU, we refused and stuck with Ford Kenya and called Ford Kenya New Ford Kenya and won against the odds.
Okay.
That principled approach to politics is the hygiene that we must promote. It is the hygiene that we are missing currently in our politics.
Dr. Mutua, you know you're the only one who's neutral. Before I give Wamatangi a chance to respond, you're the only one who is neutral on this particular one. Who is fooling who here? Dr. Mutua, you're on mute, I think. There you are. Yes, we're back.
I'm back. My background is falling off here.
Okay.
It's technology. You can see me now? Yes.
I can hear you. Yes.
You can see me. Yeah. What I was saying is that there's a joke told about Jubilee that says that of all the political parties that there are in Africa, especially in Kenya since independence, Jubilee is the most fair, is the most balanced, is the most fair to everyone. Because whether you voted for it or you did not vote for it, you are suffering. So everybody is suffering. Whether you voted for Jubilee or did not vote for Jubilee, you are suffering. And that is the state of the politics that has been in our country, since that time. From where I sit, you cannot have your cake and eat it too. And I've listened to the arguments. I've listened to what Wamatangi has said about the Political Parties Act, which I've looked at as a politician and also as a party leader of Maendeleo Chap. I've listened to the very good arguments by Dr. Alwale about coalitions, and that when you're in a coalition, you can actually compete and you can actually, support each other in a coalition. But everything has a limit. Everything has a limit. I tend here to lean towards what Dr. Wamatangi has said, because it is one thing to support a coalition. It is one thing to support a member of your coalition while you're still in your party, but it is another thing to say that you are now belonging to another party while you're still a member of another party. It's very different. So you cannot, it's one thing to, these people who are maybe in Jubilee, who are going out there and saying now, they are now in ODM, they are wearing ODM colors, and they are going to ODM rallies. They are actually going against the law. Those people who are in Jubilee and wearing the yellow outfits of UDA and saying now they are supporting UDA and now they have joined UDA, they say we are in UDA, even in shows, they are going against the law. You can support a party in a coalition, but that does not mean that you cease to be a member of your party. But once you declare that you now belong to another party, then you have gone against the law. You cannot have your cake and eat it too. We need to be a country of the rule of law, of discipline. It is this kind of playing around with the law and the discipline when you know what you're doing that is causing a lot of problems. And the point is here is very clear. If you disagree with the policies of one party, if you are saying that a party is dead, if somebody says that Maendeleo Chap is dead or Jubilee is dead, then resign from that party. Do not just attack the party that brought you into office and say it is dead. Step away from that one or get pushed out. It is very clear. Kenyans have to stop being narrow-minded. Kenyans, we have to stop being used, and abused all the time by people. Unasema uko kwa hii chama na hii chama ni mbaya, siitaki, so I'm going to, to another party, I'm going to support this party, and yet you are still enjoying the benefits of being in this particular party. So let's be principled people. You take your stand and you move with it. Now, it brings in the concept of honesty. How honest are our politics in the Republic of Kenya? How honest are the things that we're able to do in our country? Why is it that every election people fear? people are the business community fears. You know, look at the tourism sector, for example. We receive a lot of money from tourism, and tourism is a soft sector that needs to be grown so we can get a lot of money. You know, we have got wonders of the world. But during every election year, the tourism dollars go down, jobs are lost. People don't want to come to Kenya because the honesty of our politicians is so wanting, especially people running for president, apart from myself and a few others like my friend there, that people feel that these people will cause violence, that there will be upheaval in the country. This lack of honesty, this dishonesty is what we are seeing now with politicians who are in one party who are declaring affiliation in another party. I'm not just saying declaring support. There's a difference. You can declare support of another party because you're in a coalition. They are declaring personal affiliation in another party, which is against the law. It is pure dishonesty. And this is what has led Kenyans to say that this government has failed, our governments have failed. It is time for something fresh. It is time to tell these fellas, you've done your bit, wacha tuanze upya so we can be like Singapore, South Korea, South Africa, and other developed countries that have made it.
Okay. Wamatangi, direct response to Alwali.
Yes, Trevor, just a few things. I think separate a few two issues. Let's start with the state of health of Jubilee. Because, Dr. Halwale, being a medical doctor, I don't know whether...
He has pronounced Jubilee dead.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to refer to his profession as a doctor, because I remember sometimes when people are being hanged, there was a clause that used to be included there that until proven dead clinically by a doctor, Yes. So, I don't know when you're talking about the death of Jubilee, whether you're speaking so as a doctor or as a political leader, because the two are different. I think, Trevor, we can talk about the state of health of Jubilee. And I'll be the first to admit that the state of health of the party itself has been seriously affected, adversely, to the extent that you can say that the party has been suffering and hemorrhaging, and it has been sickly. Sickly because there has been a lot of wounds caused to the party, its well-being internally. And the history of the party is well known to this country. We have been and started very well as a party, and that's what we were just speaking about when we were talking about the Political Parties Act. But from within the party, you had rebellion, you have had members moving out, you have members sabotaging the party, bad-mouthing the party. At the end of the day, then you cannot argue that you have a party that is healthy. As long as you have these factions inside, you have members who are still within that party that are sabotaging and no longer believe in its ideology and what it stands for. And that is why you would say that to that extent, the party is suffering. And the best thing, that's why I said, it would be a clear departure of those that believe in the party and those that do not believe in the party. As far as the question of the death of the party is concerned, that would only be pronounced at 2022 in August. And I'll tell you why I say so. Because the party in its form, whether limping, whether running, whether healthy, has been given a mandate by the people of this country to run the affairs of the country until the year 2022 in August, when there is a new general election. And that is the law of the land. So that cannot change. What would need to do for those of us that believe that politics can still be an honorable game, that we have a responsibility as people respected to set a precedent and an example that political leadership can still be honorable, that we can be believable and predictable, that when you say to people that this is what you will do, that you would do it in good and bad times.
Yeah.
Whether it is during low or high tide, that you would stay the course. And at the end of the day, when it comes to Judgment Day, if you're going to have to give explanations, arrive at the tape and touch the tape. And say, I have come and I have arrived. There were trials, there were tribulations, but this is what happened, but I stayed the course. And for some of us, that's what we believe in. And that's why we are here. And that's why we are there. Because how else are we going to tell the children of this country that you can make a promise when you are a political leader? How will I tell my son that you can vie, that you can aspire to be a leader like I am, elected by the people as a politician, and still feel honorable, if the example I set is such that I can never utter a word or make a promise that is kept, that is true, that for everything I say I want to substitute it with an excuse and blame the next person that this didn't happen. And I want to say clearly, Trevor, that if there is any burden that any political leader has of today in office, is that one, especially in this country, that we can refresh the minds of Kenyans and say that once more, if you go to the ballot box in 2018, you can get a new lease of hope and life, that at least you are going to do something useful.
Okay.
Don't Trevor, be surprised by the numbers that you are seeing IEBC reporting here, and you would be asking yourself, what is the cause? People sometimes want to attribute voter apathy only to the fact that we do not have a candidate running, or because for many other reasons. We also must attribute the number one factor to voter apathy that you see has become a common cause right now in Kenya. That's why you see IEBC reporting the numbers it is reporting. People have started to lose faith in our democracy, in our kind of political leadership. Because who else, when your child is suffering at home, how else can you believe that when Wamatangi comes there and say, I'm going to show you and give you and unveil this model, while having unveiled another 3, that your child still suffers the way they suffered? How do you expect to get your buy-in of faith that the things I'll be saying today are true? That's why I say, you know, as far as the question of Jubilee and so on are concerned, let us not just subscribe that to a sideline that just says that it is just a fight between men wearing red T-shirts and others wearing yellow and blue and whatever. It is about the ideological belief of this country and the example that we are setting. And that is carried by ourselves. Now, on this question that was raised by Dr. Halwale of you know, how did the president behave and so on? You know, during the elections in Msambweni and Kibra, the candidates were brought to the president. One at State House Lodge in Mombasa, the other one in State House here in Nairobi. And you know, the Constitution mandates the president. And one thing that, Trevor, by now you may have known, is that I stand on my 2 feet and I refuse to be a sycophant at any one time. But I stand by fact and truth most of the time. And, you know, at the expense of probably sounding like, you know, I'm leaning, or I would lean to an extreme, but it's good to be faithful. When the president was brought those people, our law says that the president is a symbol of national unity. I would see no reason why somebody would be brought to the president and he says that he can't see them or talk to them or be seen with them. And I don't think that any other party brought or came with any other person and they said that you cannot see this person. What you did not see was the president in any of those rallies. He wasn't there. He didn't go. He never wore ODM's T-shirt to go and campaign. Neither was he in Msambweni. But those guys came to him. At least to that limit, you can ascribe the benefit that indeed, as a national leader, as the president of this country, in adherence to the law, that he is a symbol of national unity. Now, Trevor, what I would just want to conclude with is this, that in the midst of all this muck and mire, what would we be saying that we want to tell our viewers this morning about our political leadership and where we are? And I would just summarize it in very few words, Trevor, that we are at a serious crossroads as a country at this moment. Because we have moved all the way from 2002, progressed on, fought in 2007, 2008 because of our newfound democracy. Now we moved on to 2013 onwards, all the way up to 2017. We're heading to 2022. And we should be asking ourselves, if we are doing a check of our well-being, have we made our newfound democracy and our multipartyism better? Are we making it worse? Are we looking at it as though it is a new model that we have introduced that now it is almost legal to unroll or unveil a model of political leadership that is faithless. And that must be the questions we should be asking ourselves as political leaders.
All right, let me bring in some feedback before I take closing remarks from you. Let's bring in them up on screen, see what you're saying. Kiprono Abraham says, when will Honorable Matangi decamp officially to UDA, or he doesn't listen to the ground? Please ask him. Jubilee Party should not be allowed to die with Matangi's brains and eloquence. Okay, Kiprono, let's get that direct question to you. Are you decamping to UDA? Let's go back to Kiprono. When will Honorable Matangi decamp officially to UDA, or he doesn't listen to the ground? Please ask him. Jubilee Party should not be allowed to die with Matangi's brains and eloquence.
You know, UDA came and found me here. Jubilee came and found me here. And like I've said, Trevor, can I say it even more louder? I believe verily from where and how I've been brought up and what I stand for, that I must, in the words of one senator in the United States who said, Almighty God, dear Almighty God, help me to stand for something, or else I'll fall for anything. I choose to stand for my ideology, that if I'm given a responsibility to carry, I will carry it until the end. And I will arrive at that tip and say, this is what I did. Now, come 2022, when I have gone now to face my people again, and I'll tell them, you sent me, you asked me to do, I did, here I am. And they tell me now, go back. I'll look at the landscape. If my party Jubilee has remodeled, has organized itself, maybe coalesce and say this is, and it looks good, and our people say yes, this is where you go, that's where I go. If our people say, well, Matangi, Jubilee folded, did this, we'll look at the landscape and say this is how we go. Between now and 2022 in August, I have a responsibility to do the work that I signed for and I took oath of office to do. And that is what I will do until that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Musili Masila says the state of health of Jubilee Party started deteriorating since and when the key leaders of the party invited Honorable Raila Odinga to their bedroom. Whatever he undertook therein are fruits of whatever we are witnessing. Okay. Mukindia says, is there any responsibility that a party has towards its members other than sponsoring them to parliament? The whole problem of Jubilee is engineered by its own officials. It's gone against the wishes of its members. No member consultations. Okay. Karani Mutonga says the only thing that should be in all presidential candidates' manifesto is an elaborate plan on how they'll fight graft. If that can be done successfully, all other promises will fall in place. Sadly, none of the candidates is doing that. Okay. Angela Razaro says the naked truth, DP Ruto obsessed with his presidential ambitions to the point that he abandoned the president and the vehicle they used in ascending to power halfway to form opposition party. This is unconstitutional. Okay. Talam Ronald says Uhuru and father of Jubilee abandoned his children right in their eyes and expressed how interested he could give a better treatment to children of the other home and expect his own children to be happy and celebrate such kind of an action. Okay. Let's take closing remarks now and I'll start with you, Dr. Alwale. Your closing remarks on this.
2 comments. The first one is that it is the English who say, when the king is dead, they say, the king is dead, long live the king. Jubilee is dead. Long live UDA. I would like to use this opportunity to congratulate the people of Kakamega County during the just ended voter registration. We were number 3 in the whole country, coming after Nakuru and Nairobi. Much as we might have done better, but at least it shows that the awareness about the need to participate in elections is good in Kakamega. I have no doubt that our target of 337,000 people will be met when we'll do the final round about March.
Yes. Okay.
Finally, these are very exciting times. What is happening in Kenya has just happened in New York. The new mayor-elect of New York, Eric Adams, a black American who won the election the day before yesterday, is a hustler. The boy was picked from the streets when he used to run errands for criminal gangs.
Okay.
Then he joined the New York police force, rose to the top, and he has become a mayor.
Okay.
We are saying the possibilities are such that if barriers are removed in people's ways, people can become their best.
Okay.
Here is a boy, a black boy, who has now become the mayor of the New York City.
Okay.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the registration by IBC is still ongoing because of a court case. It was pushed to Thursday, so there's still ongoing registration.
So more people can come.
It hasn't ended yet. Dr. Mutua?
I'll be very quick, about 5-6 points in a chap manner. The first point is to wish our friends of the Hindu faith happy Diwali. It is Diwali time. We will have the fireworks and everything. So happy Diwali as you continue. Number 2 is to reiterate the point I said earlier on, that whatever I will be promising my people in my campaigns, I will do it. Whatever I'll be promising my people in my campaigns, I will do it. Because it is important for leaders to keep their word. I've been able to meet most of my promises. There are others, for example, who always ask me, what happened to Formula One? What happened to the new city? And I've already explained, somebody went to court. We signed an MOU of 1.2 billion shillings. The Wiper officials went to court. It was in court for 6 years. By that time, all the investors who had to do this had actually pulled off and taken their money elsewhere because of bad, selfish politics, where the leaders are okay, but the rest of the people are suffering. But we are recovering, and we're going to get some of this work done, because it is about a leader who has an ability, trustworthiness, and the aim to help other people, not just themselves. Quickly is to say that we need to look about economic recovery. It's not just about people with their manifestos. It's about what we can do. It's about a government that allows the business community to thrive. I talked about tourism earlier on, for example. When you go to Mombasa, there's a restaurant they're going to call the Yule's restaurant. You go to Yule's restaurant, you find that now Yule has now employed the beach boys around there to clean the beach. And he has done that in a way to actually promote employment so that more people have more jobs. If we get more business people in the sector of tourism and other sectors to do the same, then it will be better. But then we need a government that also gives you a kind of a leeway, an ability to be able to move with tax breaks and others so that you can be able to move. That is how you grow an economy. And as I went down, you say that as you create jobs, and I urge my people, especially my Maendeleo Chap people and people who are candidates who want to run with Maendeleo Chap, that you are coming to a party that has an ideology that we need development now so that our people can get jobs and a better quality of life. And I'm telling you, come to this party and we'll continue working together. These leaders who've been there for a long time, they're giving us the same stories. I heard somebody say it for Gia Wote. Maybe it's time for Kenyans to consider that it is time for a fresh beginning, a new beginning with fresh blood. And finally, I have been posting videos, and it's good for us to Kenyans to know that we don't know it all. I visited Rwanda the other day, and I posted videos on my Twitter. I ask you to follow my Twitter, Facebook, the verified one, on my Instagram, on my visit to Rwanda. It's good for us to see what another African country that was in the dogs the other day can do, even if it's a small African country, but what they can do, the management in the country, the things they've been able to do, the quality of life. You don't hear of Rwandese fleeing the country to go to other countries. No, they're all trooping back home. Why? What are the lessons we can learn from Rwanda, from the United States, from Singapore, from South Africa, from Botswana, so that we can make Kenya a better place?
Okay. Thank you. Mrangi?
Yes, my running mate has not been sending me those videos.
He's put them online. He expects you to watch them with the rest of us.
You should be sharing them with your running mate.
Continue following me on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and you'll see them there.
Anyway, wish you well and safe journey back.
And see you soon.
Trevor, just two things I want to mention. First is on that issue of voter registration, because I really wanted to highlight that matter so that our young voters can remember. You know, if you count the number of young people, Trevor, who have transitioned since the last general election in 2013 now, up to now, to be eligible to vote, actually it is a lot of young people.
6.5 million.
Yes. Look at the numbers of people who have registered today.
1.4 million.
Yes. So that tells you that you still have close to 5 point something million young people who have not registered as voters. That, if you compare that with the number of votes that were cast to determine who will be the president of this country in the year 2017, that number of unregistered voters is almost the total number that determined. It's just 3 million short of the vote that determined the presidency. That tells you that's a number, that's a huge number of votes. Those are votes that are enough to change the course of this country. And because if you look at the demographics of how many young people then comprise of the number of voters within our population, you'll be surprised at the mismatch, because we say that young people now within the population of 50 million comprise of close to almost 70% of the population. Now, and imagine how disproportionate it is to the number of people who actually vote to determine who becomes the president of this country and who leads our young people. And I think that is the call I would want to be making to our young people, that it is very unfortunate, while we say that they're the future leaders, that the leaders of tomorrow, that they cannot determine that tomorrow by going to the ballot box themselves and casting their vote, such that you find that it will require an extension of the deadline to go and register as voters, while there is no plausible reason why they have not gone to the ballot box, to the registration center today. And so I just want to take the opportunity to urge our young people to ensure that they go get that mighty vote, such that in 2022, they can be part of those that are going to determine the destiny of a country that is now ahead of the pack, leading within the development of Africa as a continent. Then, Trevor, I wanted to also put my voice to a story that was in the papers, but we skipped it, on justice for a young lady who was murdered in Nanyuki many years ago by a white man, Wanjiru. And because these kind of cases have been rampant, I just wanted to put my voice to it and hope and pray that at the end of the day, this matter can be not only brought to closure, but will see the light of day and take its full course and justice found. Because if you remember from the stories of the murders in Mombasa hotels and everywhere, young black girls, our local girls, are murdered by foreigners and thrown in pits and left in bedrooms and outside and in cars, killed, and no justice is finally meted on these fellows. I think this matter would need to close, and this family can find closure. Lastly, it's just to tell our viewers this morning that amidst all that we've said this morning, that there is still hope, that we can redeem this country, that we can determine our destiny, and we can make decisions politically wise, such that the future of this country will be in our hands. And we can move that power from people who have been irresponsible before and put it in the hands of people that we can say, these are people that we can at least start to trust. But make sure that we keep up with their pace day after day, ensuring that we apply even the provisions of the Constitution, whereby we can even recall members who have been elected and they don't perform. Because unless we remind Kenyans that they have also been given powers by our law that will keep politicians on daily check, such that at the end of the day, you don't find that people just believe that after you have the elections in 2022, you'll have to wait until 2027 to come and determine the fate of somebody who failed you. I think that is one thing we have to do. So my fellow Kenyans, when we go to the election this time, my urge is, please, open your book of marking schemes. Look at the person you're electing and match them to their record and match them to what they say and look at what they're able to do and what they cannot do.
Dr. Kimani Wamatangi, Senator Kiambu, thank you so much. Dr. Alfred Mutua, Machakos Governor, and Dr. Boni Halwale, former Senator Kakamega, will do this again on Thursday. We're taking a quick break here on Daybreak. When we come back, it's time for cooking tips. They're cooking masala egg Florentine. Even I don't know what that is. Mayai ni mayai too. We take a break. We'll see you later.